G'day and welcome to AOS Coach. In this video, I'm going to discuss Morathi and look at the different ways on how to bring her down. I'm going to help you understand Morathi's secret sauce and then discuss some of the tools and techniques that you can use. But who is Morathi? Morathi's story is one that is full of scheming and manipulation that is threaded throughout the history of Warhammer. In the world that was, Morathi was a powerful magic user who specialized in dark magic, and she had power that rivaled Nagash and Teclis. She was the former wife of Anarion, the first Phoenix King, and mother to Malekith, now known in Age of Sigmar as Malarian. In the Age of Sigmar, she has helped capture Slaanesh between the realms of light and shadow, along with Tyrion, Teclis, and Malarian. She would go on to create the Daughters of Khaine using the elf souls that she stole from the belly of Slaanesh. Under the guise of worshipping a dead elven god Khaine, she would go on to develop the powerful cult in the harshest lands of Ulgu. Morathi helped Sigmar reclaim the mortal realms and once was included in his pantheon, but that relationship is now deader than Khaine as she betrayed him by attacking Anvilgard, now known as Harkuron, and she finally ascended to the godhood that she always craved throughout the entire history of Warhammer. Let's start by looking at what you need to know about Morathi. First up, she has 2 war scrolls and 1 shared wound profile. So Morathi will have 2 models on the table, but it will share a wound profile. The smaller model is known as Morathi-Khaine. You might also hear her as Little Morathi. And she is primarily a spellcaster and is known for her command ability, as well as some really powerful spellcasting that we'll talk about in a second. The other model is the Shadow Queen. That is the larger snake-like lady who is really the combat monster. The thing that catches a lot of people off is that Morathi can only take 3 wounds a turn. So in my turn, she takes 3. Your turn, she takes 3. She can only take a maximum of 3. Now, once she's taken her 3 wounds in that turn, she cannot take any more during that turn. So it means that the quickest time that you can destroy Morathi is at the bottom of turn 2. So if you start off by the top of turn 1, you do your 3, and you rinse and repeat. The minimum you'll be able to do is take her off at the end of turn 2. She can't be auto-slain, so if you have Archaon's Slayer of Kings, if you have Nagash's Hand of Dust, any way to auto-remove a model off the table, Morathi is immune to that. She'll just take mortal wounds instead. Now, despite the fact that she can only take 3 wounds a turn, the other side of the coin is she can't heal. Morathi can never heal wounds. She cannot benefit from heroic recovery. She cannot benefit from Emerald Life Swarm. She can't benefit any way of healing. Once she is damaged, she is damaged. That profile is going to degrade. She has a hero phase shooting and melee command ability. So Little Morathi-Khaine has a command ability that allows friendly Daughters of Khaine units to shoot or fight in the hero phase. And that doesn't stop them from then fighting again or shooting again in that subsequent turn. So they can still shoot in the hero phase, then shoot in the shooting phase. If she has bow snakes, that's probably one of the good candidates for this. The bow snakes will be able to shoot really twice, and on 6s they can do mortal wounds as well. Big Morathi, she could fight in the hero phase. You could put it on witch elves. You can do it on anything that is friendly Daughters of Khaine. There are going to be a whole bunch of threats. I mentioned just 2 of them: melee snakes, witch elves, Sisters of Slaughter, Big Morathi. Whatever it's going to be is, if you are engaged in combat, she could fight in the hero phase. Or if there is a unit of bow snakes, they are definitely going to want to shoot you twice in that turn. Little Morathi is a powerful wizard, and she can cast 3 spells and unbind 2 spells, and she gets a +1 to her cast, dispel, and unbinding rolls. Her signature war scroll spell has a range of 36 inches, and it has the ability to do up to D6 mortal wounds. So 36 inches is a pretty impressive threat range, especially to potentially snipe out maybe one of your support heroes. Now, Big Morathi is a combat monster. She has a great shooting attack that hits and wounds on 2 and has Ren -3 for D6 damage, which could be great as well for things like Unleash Hell. While if you are in combat or Morathi gets into combat, she has some pretty good damage when it comes to the fact that one of her attacks has a flat 6 damage. She has a heap of damage 3 attacks, as well as a 2d6 worth of damage 1 attacks. So if she's locked into combat, I just mentioned earlier, she could potentially fight in the hero phase, and if you get that command ability off. So, keep that in mind. If you happen to be tied up, she can be quite deadly. So how on earth do we handle our snake mama? Every army is going to be able to handle Morathi differently, so here are a bunch of ways, depending on your army, that you can take her down. First off, you want to put 3 wounds on her as soon as possible. The sooner you can put wounds on her, the sooner you can remove her from play. You want to be aiming for a consistent 3 wounds on her, and then you'll be able to remove her by the bottom of turn 2. Once you've done those 3 wounds, move on and go for something else in the army. Where possible, you want to use ranged attacks. Shooting and spells are a great way to chip those wounds off her profile, and remember that she can't heal any of those wounds. So, the Shadow Queen can do some serious damage in combat, so if you can do damage to her without engaging her, the better. You could use Unleash Hell, you could use some magic, you could do some shooting. Look for ways you can do damage to her without actually engaging with her. There's a couple of key spells that you want to unbind from Morathi. The one that often goes on Morathi is Mind Razor. Now, if it's successfully cast, and it does cast on an 8, quite hard to cast sometimes, especially with only a +1 from Little Morathi. But what that will do is that will give her a -1 to her rend. So it could turn some of her attacks, like Heartrender, for example, will have rend 3, and that has 3 damage apiece. And at the top of her bracket, she has 8 attacks. There are other things as well, things like the Withering is another spell to look out for. That'll give her a +1 to her wound. So you should cast it on you, but it makes her easier to kill you. But either way, you want to stop some of these key spells while you can. Where possible, you want to target Morathi-Khaine. That's the little wizard Morathi, not the Shadow Queen big snake lady. Now, there's a weird rules interaction here that with little Morathi, and you can see it on her war scroll, that she is not allowed to get a ward save. So one of the allegiance abilities for Daughters of Khaine is that everything in their army gets something called Fanatical Faith, which is essentially a ward save of a 6+. Or you could be on mystical terrain. Now, if little Morathi is damaged, she doesn't have the ability to use a ward save because the wound goes directly to the Shadow Queen. So she still gets her regular armor save. That's obviously doesn't change. However, when wounds hit Morathi, she's not allowed to save them. So if you are able to do some damage and Morathi-Khaine is in range, go for her because you'll just chip her away a little bit quicker. You want to kill the other threats. Now, there is nothing that you can do to kill Morathi early, other than those 3 consistent damage. So if you see something like the bow snakes, now they're probably the number 1 right now as we're currently talking. If you see those 10 or 15 bow snakes, you want to take them down as quick as possible and remove those threats for the double shoot or the double combat. If you see the blood snakes, you see the combat version, or you happen to see something like witch elves, or even something like Canary, there's a whole bunch of threats depending on how a Daughters of Khaine army is built. But either way, if you can chip damage off the cauldron, take down the witch elves, stop other parts of scoring or synergies, that will work with you very nicely if you can just kill those other threats while you're chipping away with that 3 damage. If you have a monster, she is a prime candidate to be roared at. That is a great way of reducing her effectiveness because Morathi loves to apply things like all-out attack, all-out defense, or while we're playing in Gur, being able to use the command ability to fight at the top of the bracket if she's already taken damage. So should you be able to roar, and there's no way of stopping the roar, she can't go into Hunters of the Heartland, that is a great way to reduce the potency should you get into combat with her. If all else fails, avoid the big snake lady as much as possible, as quick as possible. Make those charges harder, retreat. Look for ways you can avoid her while you're attacking her at range, or you're attacking the little Morathi-Khaine. Now, players seem to fear Morathi because they can't focus their attacks and get her off the board early. There are plenty of heroes out there that if you focus fire, you use something like your Slayer of Kings, your Hand of Dust, you've got some type of heavy damage dealing focus fire, you've got something like the Cruel Boys killer, the Beast Skewer killer bow, you've got something that does lots of damage either from range or you charge them in super buffed up and you can, take off most heroes off the table. Vampire Lord on Zombie Dragon, Mega Boss on Maw Crusher, something like that. Now, against Morathi, you just can't do that because she can only take 3 damage a turn. So I think the question you got to ask yourself if you are faced off against Morathi is look at Morathi and work out how can I chip those 3 wounds off her consistently a turn. If you can tie her up with a durable unit, maybe there's a debuff on that unit as well, cause a -1 to hit, or you could roar at them or something like that. Something with a high armor save as well. Without Mind Razor, her best attack is a Ren -2. So if you can stack something like Mystic Shield, All Out Defense, you can really reduce her threat potential while in combat. If you have ranged weapons and magic, you want to be able to hit her before she gets into combat. That'll mean that she'll die sooner. It means her attack profile will be reduced. And as we've already mentioned, she cannot heal. She can't run and charge. So Witch Elves can run and charge, but Morathi cannot run and charge. So if you can, start chipping wounds at her and you got a long threat range from turn 1, and she happens to come range near your shooters, Unleash Hell. Again, look for ways you can screen from Morathi while still doing damage. There are a lot of different ways you can handle Morathi, and she's not as scary as you think. I would certainly rather fight a Morathi than a Gotrek, a Archaon, or even something like Nagash at times, right? Some of these models are quite scary for certain reasons. Morathi, once you understand that you've just got to take 3 wounds a turn, chip away as much as possible, try to stop some of the other threats. Because Morathi can only take 3 wounds, if you focus fire on her, it means my bow snakes, my witch elves, my other threats are surviving, scoring, and using those that additional command ability as much as possible. So if you can stop those threats, reduce those 15 bow snakes down to 5, you really do reduce the threat of what Morathi brings, because she is 2 models. You've got the spellcast, you've got the combat weapon, you've got the command ability. Look for ways you can kind of isolate her, concentrate on her, but also then shut down the rest of the force. But hey, that's enough from me. I would love to hear from you how you're handling Morathi. And again, every army is going to be different. So depending on what tools you have in your toolbox, will depend on if you engage with her in combat, tap into her in shooting, you avoid her. Let me know in the comment section how you are handling Morathi. Is it something that the way I've responded with and I've already told you what to do, or something that I've completely missed? Let me know in the comments. We all learn together. Thanks for sticking around until the end. I hope you found that video interesting and you walked away with a few new ideas. If you did, I would appreciate it if you hit like on the video, as well as left me a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section below. The conversation will continue over on Discord, so links down below in the episode description if you want to join the Discord and continue the Age of Sigmar conversation. I want to give a massive shout out as well to these absolute bloody legends, these champions who have continued to support me through Patreon or YouTube members. That is going directly into supporting the maintenance and the growth of this channel. So thank you very much, guys. Much appreciated. And until next time, roll more 6s.